On December 19th, Stella Assange tweeted out, "Day X is here. The public hearing at the Royal Courts of Justice will be on the 20th and 21st of February. It may be the final chance for the UK to stop Julian's extradition. Gather outside the court at 8:30 a.m. on both days. It's now or never." What she's referring to is that the UK High Court has set a date for Julian Assange's final appeal challenging U.S. extradition. We have been in touch with Stella, and we will be bringing her on the show between now and this extradition date. I'm very excited to talk to her. We will be interviewing her after the new year. It'll be in January at some point, but we are definitely going to bring her on for a talk. We hope to be able to do it live. She is in another time zone, so it'll have to be Friday morning if it's live. So we're going to try to make that happen. But either way, even if we have to pre-record it, we definitely want to bring her on because we want to get the word out about this event. And actually, we want Russell to fly out to London and be there for that event and film that event, February 20th and 21st. This is a write-up in Fox News. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange's possible final legal challenge to block his extradition from Britain to the U.S. to face charges for public classified U.S. military documents will be held in February 2024 at the High Court in London. The upcoming hearing, scheduled for February 20th and 21st, will be held before two judges who will review an earlier High Court decision made by a single judge in June when the Australian journalist was denied permission to appeal, according to a release from pro-Assange campaigners. Assange, 52, is facing 17 charges for allegedly receiving, possessing, and communicating classified information to the public under the Espionage Act. Receiving, possessing, and communicating, in other words, doing what a journalist does. Receive information, have information, that's what possessing means, and communicating, meaning publishing information. Literally, facing 17 charges for the crime of journalism. That is not an exaggeration whatsoever.
Well, by this standard, everyone involved in the Pentagon Papers would have gone to jail.
Obama chose not to press charges specifically because, as this article mentions, he knew if he prosecuted Assange, he'd also have to prosecute all the other outlets who printed that information as well, and he knew he couldn't do that. Trump decided to ignore that, and now Biden is apparently siding with Trump over his former boss. Good Democrat that he is.
Yeah, which is something for all the MAGA Trump heads to keep in mind. This prosecution was done under anti-establishment maverick Donald Trump, who was too much of a pussy to pardon him on the way out the door. That guy, he's no fucking hero. Being better than Joe Biden is the ultimate leper with the most fingers contest. Even if you believe that, that doesn't make Trump good.
Of course. No, look, the MAGA chuds have to understand that. And the civil liberties liberals, to the extent that they still exist, which I don't know, have to understand Joe Biden siding with Trump over Obama on this.
Right.
All right. And one charge alleging a conspiracy to commit computer intrusion. He is extradited to the U.S. after exhausting all his legal appeals. Assange would face trial in Alexandria, Virginia, and could be sentenced to up to 175 years in an American maximum security prison. By the way, that trial, I don't think that's going to be a public trial. It's not going to be like a thing where we get to see everything. They're going to do it. That's going to be a closed doors affair in Virginia. The charges were brought by the Trump administration over WikiLeaks' 2010 publication of cables leaked by U.S. Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning, detailing war crimes committed by the U.S. government in the Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, detention camp, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The materials also exposed instances of the CIA engaging in torture and rendition. WikiLeaks' collateral murder video showing the U.S. military gunning down civilians in Iraq, including two Reuters journalists, was also published 13 years ago. Speaking of Reuters, Reuters put out a piece on this, meaning this final hearing date. It was the shortest, chintziest piece ever. And they are the outlet whose journalists were murdered and who Assange exposed the murder of their team. And they put out a dog shit article about this, which, in fairness to them, that's more than the New York Times did. New York Times didn't cover this at all. New York Times didn't spill a drop of ink over this. And they are one of many outlets to actually sign on to a letter saying that charges should be dropped, but they didn't cover this. Nobody wants to touch this. This was actually a great piece by this guy over at Fox News. Got to give credit where it's due. He wrote by far the best article about this. This hearing signals a crucial stage in Julian's battle for justice and is the end of the line in the UK courts, Assange's brother, Gabriel Shipton, said in the release. This Christmas will be Julian's fifth in a UK prison. He has gone through through years of uncertainty, his mental and physical health getting worse and worse. He should be able to come home to Australia with his children and get the support he needs. I urge the Prime Minister to pull out all the stops in his efforts to end Julian's suffering. Bring Julian home. The announcement of a hearing date comes after multiple bipartisan efforts were made this year by lawmakers in the U.S. and Assange's home country of Australia, demanding that U.S. officials drop the charges and end their extradition requests. No publisher had been charged under the Espionage Act until Assange. I'll repeat that. No publisher had been charged under the Espionage Act until Assange, and many press freedom groups have said his prosecution sets a dangerous precedent intended to criminalize journalism. U.S. prosecutors and critics of Assange have argued WikiLeaks' publication of classified material put the lives of U.S. allies at risk, but there is no evidence that publishing the documents put anyone in danger. Greenwald's made that point several times. They say that he put lives in danger by publishing this information. Nobody has produced any evidence of what lives he put in danger by publishing any of this information. That's why it's good that this guy included this in this write-up. A lot of journalists would just not tell that side of the story at all. Assange has been held at London's high-security Belmarsh prison since he was removed from the Ecuadorian embassy on April 11th, 2019, for breaching bail conditions. He had sought asylum at the embassy since 2012 to avoid being sent to Sweden over allegations he raped two women because Sweden would not provide assurance it would protect him from extradition to the U.S. The investigation into the sexual assault allegations were eventually dropped. The last 4.5 years have taken the most considerable toll on Julian and his family, including our two young sons, Assange's wife, Stella, said in the release. The couple married while Assange was in prison. This is what we were talking about earlier. The Obama administration decided not to indict Assange in 2013 over WikiLeaks' publication of the classified cables in 2010 because it would have had to also indict journalists from major news outlets who published the same materials. Former President Obama also commuted Manning's 35-year sentence for violation of the Espionage Act and other offenses to 7 years in January 2017, and Manning, who had been in prison since 2010, was released later that year, but former President Trump's Justice Department later moved to indict Assange under the Espionage Act, and the Biden administration has continued to pursue his prosecution. Turns out Obama should have just charged him and then pardoned him, right?
Yeah.
But because he didn't charge him, Trump charged him, and now Biden is not doing anything about this. But the dates are February 20th and 21st in London. We want to fly Russell out there. That's our goal, to be able to do that, to be able to cover that. That's the last straw before he gets extradited here. And if that fails, then there needs to be massive protests here. But there needs to be massive protest. There needs to be a major flooding of people outside that courthouse both of those days, February 20th and 21st.
Yes, if I do go cover it, I may be assisted by my daughter who lives in England. So it'll be a family affair. This is one of those make or break moments. This is one of those moments that's going to, I don't want to be dramatic, but it's going to somewhat determine the course of history. Because if they can prosecute Assange, if in the end Assange is in prison for what he did, no journalist in the West is ever going to be safe again.
No, that's it. That's the end of journalism as we know it. If you can't feel secure in your right to, as the article said, obtain, possess, and communicate information,
right.
Then that's it.
Right.
Your First Amendment, you just cross freedom of the press off of that list. It's done at that point. There is no freedom of the press at that point.
And this idea that you get that Joe Biden, and again, Trump is not better. He's the one who started the prosecution. But the idea that democracy is on the ballot, you have to support the Democrats in order to maintain our system. What the fuck are you talking about? They are the gayer Republicans. That's all.
Right.
You're not going to get anything better from them than you're going to get from Trump. This is what's so hard for the liberal mind to grasp. I said during my theater event the other night, I said to somebody, and you could see like their brain was going to explode. For the average person, you tell me what the difference is between Trump or Biden being president. In what way does it materially affect people's lives? The average person. You tell me how their life has been improved by having Biden in the White House.
Of course.
And it's the same here. Look, under Trump, Assange is prosecuted. Under Biden, Assange is prosecuted. This is why the Republicans have a certain built-in advantage, because if you like those politics, you're getting them. There's no clear reason to be a member of a right-wing party that claims to be a left-wing party. What's the purpose?
Please clap.